I was the only Indian besides me and my sister. And so, you know, there was that part where my friends like knew me in the sense that, oh yeah, he knows so much about basketball and he knows so much about this cartoon. But then, you know, they'd be like, hey, Friday night is this football game, we're going to a party, come after. And I'd be like, oh, I can't come, my parents won't let me. And they'd be like, why? And I'd be like, because I'm Indian. And they, like, that part of me, they just wouldn't understand at all.
Well, what age was this at?
That ended up being like later.
School.
Yeah, that was like high school, you know. But even one of my favorite stories, when I was in 4th grade, this girl asked me, you know, if I wanted to go out with her. And I was fourth grade, so what, you're like 12, 13? 9, yeah, I was really young. I don't even remember. And like, I had not completely assimilated yet, so I wasn't like, yeah, sure, you know, because I thought she was cool. And also I was 9, so I was probably pretty like foolish. Yeah, I wasn't like, yeah, sure. She asked me and I was like, okay, I have to ask my dad and I'll get back to you. So I went home and I asked my dad and he's like, no, you're too young. And so I went back to her and I had to explain this. And, you know, that was where I really started to understand that like my culture was different and that other people in my school wouldn't understand it. And it ended up kind of just being a part of my life. That's like where I became aware of who I was culturally.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, just for the assimilation part, I guess, like, I feel like I forgot my other culture because I came when I was young. Like, I've always felt that I have become so Americanized that I've kind of never really learned a lot of my, my culture from Ecuador, because I went to schools where like, you know, there were very, very little, you know, Hispanic populations, like, and so it was more of like I basically Americanized and like fit right in, but I forgot on it or didn't really learn it because my mom always worked. I was, you know, at school, and when I was at home, like there was really nothing, or I was with her at work. There was really nothing else. I missed that. I know. I remembered like I loved soccer and I couldn't play. Like that was like one of the things I hated the most. Yeah. Like the kids in my school didn't play soccer, like because we had recess. I was like, let's play soccer. And I remember gym, we had like, you know, one month we'd play dodgeball, you know, and then like when soccer would come along, you know, it would be like my favorite thing, and I'd be like the best one at it, but it would only be for a certain amount of time. Yeah. And then they'd go back to playing like handball and all that. I'm like, why are we playing soccer? Like, come on.
Yeah. I think that's a part of like the assimilation. Like that's something that's interesting, is like you assimilate, but you also like, you know, make up a word, desimilate from what your old culture was. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, when I came, if my family had stayed in England, the language that we speak at home in our house, Gujarati, which is like our local state language, I would have been a lot better at it. You know, because my entire family was there, our Indian community was there, I would have kept speaking it. When we moved to America, you know, I sort of desimulated from it because my parents all of a sudden had to speak, you know, very good English to the people in the shopping malls and to the people at Walmart, and so they sort of started even practicing English through us, and as a result our exposure to Gujarati, which is my state language, became less and less and less and less and less. And nowadays, like, my Gujarati is mediocre. And so as much as I assimilated and, you know, can fit into a dive bar scene, or like, you know, and just go to some club and talk to anyone, like, that's great. But if I were to go to India, I would have a really hard time.
I know my mom was always like, you know, she tried for me to not forget Spanish. She was like, even though she had to also learn, you know, English, she wanted me to speak Spanish at home. Yeah. Just so that I wouldn't forget.